out there. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Coda Country Chats. Today, I have Rebecca Correia with me. How are you today, Rebecca?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. We were just talking about how we had to find a way to make our schedules work. And I'm so glad that you're able to hop on the call today and just chit chat with me a little bit about all that you have going on. One of the first things being your recent single release, a collaboration that you did with Lillie Mae called Rose Colored Glasses back on September 4th. Tell me a little bit more about that single and how it came to be.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be collaborating with Lillie. She is one of my all-time favorite artists. She was one of the first people I met when I moved to Nashville. She and her family play at a place on Broadway called Layla's, and
Mm-hmm.
I would just go and be so inspired. She was 16 at the time when I met her, and she just is such an incredible musician, has an incredible heart. And when I wrote this song at my friend's kitchen table in Leaper's Fork, I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking of different women in my life and some of the triumphs that they've had in their life, but also some of the heartaches and the challenges that they've faced, specifically as women. I do think this song, can resonate with a lot of people because it's about overcoming your obstacles and persevering despite the challenges that are thrown at you. So it's about
Yeah.
strength and perseverance. And Lillie really, I knew she musically would be able to carry that message, but also as women in the industry, we've faced similar challenges along the
Mm-hmm.
way, and that's unique to us. And I knew that she would be able to help share that message with me.
Yeah. If you were to pick out a favorite lyric, maybe it's one that you sing, maybe it's one that she sings, what do you think that lyric would be in that song?
Oh, that's a great question. I think uh it let's see here. Some, like in the bridge, it's somewhere in the distance there's a place for us. um it's coming into focus. It's coming into view, and it's coming into focus. So
Yeah.
that bridge really resonates with me, because in the earlier parts of the song, it's talking about some of those challenges. It's sort of labeling this individual or individuals by their strength, how they identify as a mother or a
Mhm.
warrior type. But in that passage, it says, despite all these challenges, this person is persevering. And even though some parts can be cloudy, that it's coming into view. Their future is coming
Yeah.
into view.
It's such a strong statement. It's such a strong testimony for women everywhere, really. At times, especially nowadays, I don't know. I feel like as a mother, I can speak to this. There are days when there just seems like chores and all of these other little things that just seem to never end. So I'm glad that you highlighted that lyric specifically about finding, everything coming into view and coming into focus, because that really is such a strong testimony to the song itself. Um, Let me ask you this as well. When I first um, I heard the single and I heard your voices mesh so well on that first little instance of harmony in the chorus. Um, what was it like to record the song? Were you both in the studio at the same time? Did you do this at separate times, separate tracks? Tell me how that went.
Yes, and I'm not a mother, but Lillie is a mother, and
Oh.
her little one was actually there with us. Aberdeen came in during the recording, because it's, again, as women, this her little one was young enough that she was still breastfeeding and all of that,
Oh.
and
Mhm.
so it's not like she can just leave her at home.
Right.
So we went with it, and I loved it, because it really highlighted what we were talking about in the first place in the song, that um motherhood. And again, although I'm not a mother, I have nieces and nephews whom I love dearly, and I've been able to share my life and experiences and wisdoms with them. And Aberdeen was just, we'd pass her between us. We had Casey Wasner as our producer, and he
Mm-hmm.
was in the studio. And so we would just pass her around while Lillie was in a recording. And she shows up
Oh.
in online, some of the videos we've shared. And she was just so sweet and so perfect. We were so lucky to have her
Precious.
there, and I think it definitely it brought a different touch to the whole project in general.
Yeah, kind of, I don't know, making that even more meaningful than it already is. You know how cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and look up and see more of that online, just because I'm sure that was a very special moment for you both.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Oh my
How old is
gosh.
your little one?
Well, let's see. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she's a pistol. She just started kindergarten, and then my son, he's 3, and I think he's even more of, of a
Awesome.
pistol, of a terror. But no, I love him. Like, I say that out of jest, but I
They
really
keep
do
you on your
absolutely love
feet.
him. Yes, for sure. Oh my goodness, absolutely. But they're sweet kiddos for sure, and they love music. So that's even better for me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this. The EP that you have coming out entitled Flying later on this year. I'm assuming that rose colored glasses is going to be on that. Is that correct?
Actually, it's not.
Aha, okay.
I know it's really interesting. Although everyone has loved it so much that I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll put it as a secret track. We'll see.
Yes, yes,
But
okay.
it was from a totally different time and project. In fact, Casey, our producer, played most of the instruments. I played some guitar on it, and Lillie played fiddle as well.
Oh yeah,
And
cool.
the record that's coming out this fall, Flying, we
Hmm.
actually did a Kickstarter on back in February, so it's
Nice.
crowdfunded, and
Yeah, that's so cool.
we raised money to make this record in particular. So technically, Rose Colored Glasses is separate, but again, so many people are loving it that we might I don't know, it just might show up somewhere secretly on there. We'll
A
see.
bonus track or
It,
something like that.
exactly, exactly.
Oh man, I'm sure the fans would absolutely love that. Oh wow. Okay. Well then let's talk some about um I'll let me stay on the EP because I'll get back to another single that you released earlier this year. Um what can we expect from the collection as a whole on the Flying EP? What do you think? As far as, is there a title track? Is there a track that you really are excited to highlight on the EP itself? I'd love to
Yeah,
learn more
I'm
about it.
excited
Yeah.
about it all. It's definitely a lot of personal growth, a lot of musical growth for me to have made this record. My fans came through with flying colors. We raised over $23,000 to make the record, and the the title track is Flying, and that song is about coming into a place in my life where I'm really being authentic and um really finding what works for me and what doesn't work for me in terms
Mhm.
of relationships with my career or my personal life.
Yeah.
Just really being true to what who really fits into my story
Mhm.
safely and supportively. And that track really shows that growth of like, I didn't think necessarily my path would end up here or lead me to these places, or that certain people, I thought certain people would be on board, but they aren't. There's been a fork in the road, and now I'm accepting that that is the reality and that it's okay, and trusting that everything will be whatever's meant to be is going to work out for me. And one of the most exciting tracks on there for me is I'm a singer songwriter, of course, so most of the music that I put out is all written by me or
Yay.
co-writes with me. But
Mhm.
there is a song on the record, technically a cover that I'm doing, and I don't normally do covers, but it's a song that means a real lot to me. It's called "Speak to a Girl,"
Speak to.
and it features my friend Shy Carter, and
Yes, love shy.
he's an
Mhm.
amazing artist. Yeah, and he and two others wrote this song quite a while back, and Faith and Tim did this song a while ago, and it when it hit the
Yeah.
airwaves, it just moved me to tears, and it just really spoke to me.
Mhm.
And fast forward, I ran into Shy in at a club in New York City, and just really connected with him. And lo and behold, he mentioned that song, that he was one of the writers on it, and I'm like, oh wow, like this is so meant to be. And we struck up a friendship, and we've talked about doing this for quite some time. So it's really special to be able to be bringing this to the world, because it's a really meaningful song, to myself, but I also know to him as well.
Definitely. I'm so glad that you talked about that because that gets me even more pumped to hear the rest of the EP. I feel like that's gonna be the great little, capsulating work that's gonna go on that EP. I'm excited to hear that. Okay, so let's go back. You also released um, the single Soul Survivor earlier this year, and that recently hit 20,000 views. Is that on YouTube? Is that right?
Yes, it
The
is.
music video for that.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was it like shooting the music video for that?
Well, it's kind of a profound story. I had this vision in my mind for quite some time. I sometimes do that where it's like I can almost see not just the song when it comes out, but like the whole backstory and how
Yeah,
to tell the story. And
yeah.
that song is about self love. And I had this vision of, I actually did a photo shoot with a friend, Megan Aileen, back in probably 2019. And it was just this car that had crashed, and it was I for some reason I gravitated towards this car. It was down a ravine in the backwoods of
Wow,
Nashville, and I said, this is so cool. I don't know why. It's this bright yellow car. And so
wow.
we crawled into the hauler, and we took some photos of it, and my friend looked at me and said, this would be a really great song for for like an album or a song called Survivor. And I'm like, oh, you're right, it would. But
Yeah,
at that time, I just hadn't been self-aware enough of my own story to recognize that I was a survivor and that I
wow.
am a survivor of
Mm-hmm.
different challenges in my life. And so it has themes of codependency. When you watch the video, you'll see
Mm-hmm.
that there's this crash, and I'm trying to rescue someone in this crash over and over and over. And
Mm.
eventually, when I go to actually pick up this other survivor, I actually am picking up myself.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really profound. So it was, it's a very personal song, one of the most personal ones to date, and probably ever that I'll ever share with everyone. But it was something the vision was very clear, and I knew that I had to accomplish it, like start to finish. Like the song's going to come out, but this vision I had to show to people too,
Yeah.
to hope to help them if in their journeys they're needing to rescue themselves, because we're the only ones that can truly save ourselves.
That's so true. And I, I have a flair for the theatrics. So I understand your thought process of here's the storyboard that's in my brain, right? I see this playing out just like this, and this is how this is going to work. And this is how it's worked in my life. So I applaud you for being vulnerable enough to share that version of your story because I'm sure in a way it's probably not always the easiest to bury your soul in a song like Soul Survivor. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, the story's very personal, and it's really helped me continue healing in my journey. And I hope that it brings a lot of healing to other people. And
Yeah.
making that video was just, it was incredible experience to bring that vision to life, because it was not something easy. We were depicting a car crash, so that it
Mm-hmm.
involved a lot of literal moving parts to make it happen. And
Yeah.
Marco Sandoval out of New York directed that video, and he was just incredible to work with. So really grateful.
Yeah. It sounds like you have some really great people kind of working with you and getting some stuff to make magic with you. I love hearing any kind of like name credits and stuff like that because I'm always like, ooh, let me go research that person.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and so let's talk a little bit more now because now that we've learned a little bit about how your personal life plays a lot into the music that you write, I'd love to know more about you growing up, a little bit about where you're from, and more of that side of your story.
Yes, I grew up in a little teeny time town in Massachusetts called Rochester,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, and it's just outside of Cape Cod. and I grew up on a
Beautiful.
horse farm, so I was surrounded by nature. The house I grew up in is almost 300 years old. It,
Wow.
yes, it's a literal labor of love because it's kind of constantly falling apart as we are remedying it because it's been around for so
Yeah.
long. So there's always
Yes.
something to work on there. And like I said, I was surrounded by animals, nature. My mom's a first grade teacher, retired now,
Oh,
and my dad is a barber. And so I was surrounded by, middle class background, a very safe town. Education was paramount in the story, and my parents encouraged me to follow my dream. Each one of my siblings, we followed our dreams.
yeah.
So it really, we were very lucky in that aspect. I always gravitated towards music, and I knew that it was going to be my life. That I never had that. I was lucky enough to not have to like question what I was going to do or wonder what I was going to do. It was just
Yeah.
somehow it's going to be music related, music,
Hmm.
music, music. That's what I wanted. So growing up at the farm, like the hardships and the challenges that presented, because it's not an easy life,
Right.
um, made me strong, and just kind of set the foundation for me to be able to persevere onward and onward with the
Hmm.
challenges that were presented to me.
I'm really glad that you told that story just because now I can see you visualize you growing up um in this very picturesque way and in some ways, right? Especially the way you described it. Growing up close to Cape Cod. I'll Let me see. When did you make the move to Nashville? Did you always live in Rochester before you got there, or was there any other moves in between?
I actually went to college in West Hartford, Connecticut. I went to the Hart School
Cool.
of Music,
Oh wow.
and graduated there with a degree in music education, vocal emphasis. And
Did you?
yeah, and during my time there, I met one of my dearest friends, Javier Colon, who is
Cool.
happens to be the first inaugural winner of the show The Voice. And
Wow.
he was a senior when I was a freshman, and our professor put us together, and we just really connected. We just understood each other's language immediately, and we stayed after class for like 2 hours just playing music together.
Oh.
And since then we stayed very close, and at the time he was actually, this is back in like 2006, 2007, he was working with
Mhm.
a producer in Nashville at the time, and we
Cool.
were corresponding, and he was actually sharing some of my music with this producer in Nashville, a man named Tommy Sims.
Uh-huh.
And Tommy, really was supportive of my music, and he's like, she needs to get here and just come network and meet and make music with all of us. So I had taken a trip there, and it was essentially because of Javier that I ended up in Nashville. I went and I met so many extraordinary people, including Tommy and Andy Selby, who actually helped me produce Soul Survivor. So he
Wow.
played a lot of the music on that, the instruments on that, and programmed and mixed that as well. And it's a very full circle moment because a lot of things that have come to fruition on my upcoming work, Soul Survivor and the Flying EP, are a result of that network and that relationship that I had with my friend back at the Hart School. So
Yeah.
I went to West Hartford for several years, and then I went back to Rochester, and then it was the Javier that pulled me into the Nashville scene, and I essentially never looked back after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So small coincidence here. I also went to school for music education as a choral major. So yay, we have that in common.
I love that. I love that.
And it's so crazy though because it's fun to see how life kind of takes you on one path and then you're like, oh wait, let's redirect a little bit and let's go and see what else we can find over here while still maintaining all of this like deeply rooted um backstory that everybody might not know right off the cuff if they come and see you at a show. And, knowing that about you now, I have that little extra connection with you, which I love. How cool.
Yeah, I
Tell
love my
me,
music
yeah,
ed
go ahead.
friends were just they're some of the most important people in my life, and it was so like integral going to the art school. Just it, I went for music education and I do teach,
Yeah.
but it was such a well-rounded program that
Mhm.
it set me up for so many things in life. I can't
Yeah.
say enough good words about going into music, choral music, singing, piano playing, all that stuff. We're so lucky to have that.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. Well, okay, let me ask you about this too. I mentioned, uh, if folks were out seeing you play, let's say in Massachusetts or at different places around, um, what can they expect to see when you're performing live? I know on your website it talked about how you accompany yourself with guitar and mandolin. Did I get that right?
Occasionally mandolin, but it's usually piano
Occasionally.
and guitar. Since
Nice.
moving to Nashville and traveling so much, guitar sort of took over because it was a lot easier to travel with a guitar than find a
Yeah.
keyboard everywhere you go or a piano.
Yes.
Um, I was spoiled at the Hart School because every room had a grand piano there, and I'm like, that's not going to be reality in life. So, let's adapt. But I do play a number of instruments, and when people come to see me, I'm definitely a storyteller, and will definitely sing emotive stories. There's a lot of emotion that goes along.
Yeah.
Laughter, crying sometimes happens when you're in the audience with me.
Wow.
It's definitely it's definitely a storytelling environment when you're at my shows.
Yeah. I saw that you have a couple shows coming up September 14th and 15th in Massachusetts. What else do you have on your radar as far as any kind of tour dates or any kind of special performances that you have later on this year?
Yeah, during the summers I generally do a lot of work up northeast,
Yeah.
because as you may or may or not know, um, summers in Cape Cod or the surrounding area is just booming. And so
Wow.
there's a lot of events that I do. So this weekend I'm playing at Westport Rivers Winery, which is Westport,
Cool.
Massachusetts. It's so
Mm.
gorgeous. I start and end their series every year. So the beginning of the summer and the end of the summer I play, and then um, Friday, September 20th, I'm playing in Leapers Fork at Fox and Lock.
Yeah. Okay.
So that one's coming up, and I will be debuting a few of the songs from the EP with the band, as well as
Cool.
Rose Colored Glasses. And sadly, Lillie won't be able to be there because she's out on tour with Post Malone right now. So
What?
we lost her to Post, but we're really happy for her. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, how cool is it though to yeah
I
have a
know,
friend
I know.
that's
I'm
taking that
excited.
tour.
I'm gonna go see her at Fenway. Actually, they're playing at Fenway in Boston, so I'm gonna be in the audience cheering her on. Yeah.
Yay! How cool! And like she'll probably play that song. She'll probably play Rose Colored Glasses. She'll be like, "That's my
Well,
song. I
I
was
wish she would, but she's
there."
actually in Post's band, so she'll be playing his songs.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, okay. See, in my head, I was like, "Oh, well, she's opening for him."
Yes.
But yes, that makes sense too. Okay, but still, how cool! Oh
I
wow.
know. I know. I know. I'm really excited for her. She deserves all great things.
Absolutely. And so do you. I mean,
Thank
I have
you.
really enjoyed hearing about your story today and hearing all about the amazing music that you have that's already released and the EP that's going to be released soon. Do you have a date for that, for the Flying EP? Or
Um, we are in the works of that, but it's going to be November. Let's put it that way. So be
November?
ready. Yeah. And then the first
Perfect.
single, Speak to Girl, is going to be October 4th.
Ooh, okay, great.
Yes.
Speak to a Girl premiering October the 4th, with the EP dropping in November. I'm so excited to follow along with you and hear more about the music that you have dropping. I can't wait to hear the EP once it's finalized. Listeners out there, you heard from Rebecca Correia today and all about the new single she just released with Lillie Mae entitled Rose Colored Glasses. Rebecca, before we hop off the episode today, do you have anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to that may be listening to the episode or anything else that you'd like to promote?
I'm just thank you for having me, and
Of
I'm
course.
shout out to my friends here in Massachusetts that are listening, and to my friends in Leapers Fork that are listening, and to everyone else that is new to my audience.
Yay! Of course. And I can't wait for the listeners to latch onto this story and just become as big of a fan as I am of you now. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode today.
Thank
Thank you.
you for your
Thank you.
time, Leigh. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Listeners out there, I hope y'all have a good day. Thanks so much.